Spectral Ascension is a smaller Battle Royale game by an indie studio that released last year. Even though it describes itself as a brawler, I would personally compare it more to other magic-based Battle Royale games like Spellbreak or Valgrave. Spectral Ascension has 4 different combat abilities for every character. The standard attack is a magical missile spell. The side spells contain a bomb of thorns, which explodes after a few seconds, and the wall of thorns, which damages players inside of it. The side spells, by the way, can also damage the player who casts them. So you gotta be careful where you throw your thorns. And finally, there's also an ultimate ability which will only rarely be used since it takes a long time to fill up. The ultimate ability summons a bunch of big mushrooms, which apparently also damage players. All 4 abilities can be upgraded to level 4, with upgrade points that players will be rewarded by after every round. This is also something rather special about Spectral Ascension. It is a round-based Battle Royale game, similar to games like Bean Battles. The player who scores the most points after 4 rounds of Battle Royale will be declared the ultimate winner of the match. The most points will be rewarded for the placement in the round, but there are also additional points for kills. The winner of most rounds, however, is a lot more likely to be the top player than the player with the most kills. Unfortunately, there's only a solo mode and no duo or squad options in this game. Spectral Ascension is a smaller BR game, and this shows itself in the maximum amount of players per match, which is just 8. The map of the game, however, is adjusted to fit this size. In comparison to other Battle Royales, the Spirit Forest map definitely seems smaller, but it does fit rather well for 8 players in a round-based BR. It could still be a little bit bigger, but it isn't really an issue. The map has a nice Elven Kingdom vibe. There's a large world tree, there are a lot of mushrooms, purple flower trees, magical crystals and particles floating all throughout the air. It all creates a really nice vibe, and I definitely like this map. Even a lot of bigger BRs have less atmospheric maps than the Spirit Forest. The speed of the closing zones is pretty fast in this game. It will often just take 30 to 45 seconds between the circles for the next zone to close. And at the beginning of the match, it can be difficult to see whether you're inside the next zone or still outside of it, since it simply glows yellow from both sides. This fast zone pace, however, is fitting, if you consider that the devs were apparently aiming for an arena-like style for their BR game, and with the smaller map and less players, it really does kind of make sense. Not only is the zone fast, but so are the players. The movement and speed is really fast in comparison to most other BR games. The only one that come close are probably Hyperscape, Vampire's Bloodhunt, and perhaps Apex. Funny enough, your character is going to side strafe as fast as he's running forward, which just looks hilarious. Characters can also jump pretty high, and there's an additional forward dash ability which can be used up to 3 times in a row and which fully recharges in only a few seconds. Movement is therefore a key factor of the gameplay and probably as important as the different spell abilities. I'm a bit disappointed that there is only one character model in the game for all players, which is a female witch. She, however, at least looks pretty fitting to the setting. Visuals are generally pretty decent, even though the texture quality is certainly lower than in bigger games. In this sense, you can certainly see that Spectral Ascension was being developed by a smaller studio. The background soundtrack during gameplay is also pretty decent, and sound effects work okay. Sound, visuals and controls also offer some decent customizability options, which isn't a given for smaller games. Since the release last year, there are very few players playing Spectral Ascension. I once managed to get into a match with 4 other players, but for the most part of the day nobody else will be queuing, which is going to make it hard for new players to stick around. I would therefore recommend playing with some friends if you want to try this game out. The implementation of bots would have been useful to compensate the low player base, but I seriously doubt we're going to see them in the future of this game. Spectral Ascension is a surprisingly decent little BR game. I'm personally not the biggest fan of this round-based Battle Royale approach, but the game got a couple of things to offer. It provides a different magic Battle Royale style than Spellbreak or Valgrave. The map is really atmospheric and pretty well designed, and the movement in the game is fast and feels good. I personally would have preferred to be able to choose between different spell abilities instead of all of them being usable by every player, and a bigger player maximum or additional modes would have also been nice to see. The lack of players is also a big problem, since it's really hard to actually try this game out. I would still, however, recommend doing so if you're interested in either magic or round-based Battle Royale games and are searching for an alternative to Spellbreak. If I had to rate this game, it would probably get a 5.75 out of 10 from me. I like it, but it also lacks content, scope and polish, plus it will be difficult to even try it out. Nonetheless, it is slightly above average, which seems decent for a smaller indie project.